Hello, everyone. This is Liesel from Artist Palette. Welcome. I have a fun event here. You can paint on wood. I have wood pieces that you can, well, stand down, cut up to a length that you want. I think it's just like a unique and fun piece to place and display around the house. So this is something that I decided to do. I have a love and passion for rock climbing, so I decided to paint something like that. And over here I have another piece, a little bit different looking, but still same type of thing. I have my pencil, and you can have a little eraser if you want to plan out and kind of roughly sketch out your night and day or your yin and yang sort of look. I also have a couple brushes, so some sort of large flat brush, and then a medium round brush and a detailed brush. So the detailed brush is obviously good for small little details like these, making a person, stuff like that. I also like to use this for the trees. You can also use a flat brush or a medium flat brush to get some texture on the trees. Or if you have a fan brush, you can use that too. And then my paint palette, I have my primary colors as usual. So phthalo blue, bright or warm yellow, bright red, not the orange kind, and black and white. On wood, you don't need that much paint because if you sand it down really fine and really well, it doesn't bleed throughout the wood. So that's something very important to do. If you're going to paint on wood, make sure you sand it really well. You can also seal it more, the wood, so it doesn't bleed if you stain it. So if you want to stain your wood, you can do that as well. So I have my water cup, paper towel. Then let's get painting. You can pause, take your time throughout this video. You can jump ahead or rewind, that kind of thing. You can watch this whenever on replay too. Okay, so with my pencil, you can also use just a light colored paint, maybe just white or something like that if you want to plan it out first, nothing too dark. You can also paint on canvas because this would work well on canvas too. It's all filled in with a background color. What I've done is kind of just made a bumpy, rocky formation, just very abstract, let my wrist do a lot of the work. I'm not trying to do anything in particular. So you can start down here maybe about halfway and just do something fun. And I did purposely kind of like an overhang, so it comes out right here. It looks like there's going to be a person climbing through this overhang. Makes it look kind of fun and cool. And then I'll just roughly follow that back up somewhere over here. I have this extra little piece over here, so when I fill it in, maybe I'll just put the moon here. Or I'll put it here, maybe a couple stars up here. You can take advantage of what you have, make it unique and fun. Okay, so I'm just going to press harder. You can kind of get an idea of what I've done. And then there will be a couple trees here. So I'll put that in afterwards. For the person, I like to fill in the background first and then draw on or paint on the person afterwards because I don't want to have to paint around it. But if you fill it in now with your outline, you just have to lightly, with a little bit of paint, dab over it so that it doesn't look like you painted around the person. I'll go up a little bit closer. You can see it closer in how I draw it out as well. Okay, so for this overhanging section, what am I doing? For this overhanging section, first I'm going to start with more of just like the head placement, and I want to imagine how like the length of the arms. So if I have the length of the arms kind of coming out here, I'm going to do like a circular, small circle for the head. And you can always add into it. So if you have your arms and it's like, oh, this looks way too long, just lower your rock formation to adjust to it so you don't have to do more work. It just makes it a lot easier. Okay, so I have the head there, and I just want to start with like the basic body shape. So the way that I want to do this is you don't really, because because of like the way that she's climbing, not much of a neck that you can see right now because of the hair covering it and her head tilted back. So let's just do more of a triangular shape here, just for the shape of the body, for the upper body. So the upper body and torso. Usually your shoulder is kind of scrunched up close to your head if you're trying to reach up above yourself. So what I'm doing is just kind of putting a line sticking out and then an extension. And I'll just make more of the shape later. Okay, and then same here. We have more of like a straight arm extension. And what I'll do is I'll just lower this so it looks like she's grabbing a piece without it being extra, extra long. Okay, so head, pressing harder. You don't have to press as hard unless you want to. That's extending down for the back. Okay, and then we're going to go into more the bottom. Depending on how you want the shape to be, you can do more of a male, or you can keep it more like that. But for the bottom here, all I'm doing is just, you can just leave more of kind of like a box or like a circular shape to, if you start with more of a circle, you can kind of extend that out for the legs. And I'm just going to do a oval shape, just like that. Okay, and then over here, the way that it's kind of her legs kicking back, I'm just going to do another sort of oval shape here. And then extend it a little bit further back. And attach it. And then this one's going to kind of kick up, so it looks like the legs are just kicking up a little bit. Another smaller oval shape. Okay, so that's like more of the bend in the knee at the bottom. What I think I'll do that, I want it to attach to the end of that. And then for the foot, I'm just doing, again, a little bit of a point and another oval shape. Kind of looks a bit like a lever or a leaf, and a little ball point for the back of the foot. And then for this extended foot over here, I know it seems a little bit awkward. It's just like the angle. So it's more in front the other way. So you don't see as much of that extension, but you can change the way that the legs are shaped and the way that they're placed. But I'm going to do another like leaf sort of shape. So a little bit of a point, a rounded oval, but then a little point at the end. And from here, you just kind of build onto it. I'm just going to, just a little bit towards the top. There's more of like a, we're just going to make it a little bit wider. That's all. A bit more shapely. So we're going to put a little bump for the shoulder. And then just make it a little bit thicker, but then thin out. You can put a little wrap around as if there's a hand wrapping around like one little piece of a thumb. Let's go a little bit closer. thins out more onto the forearm, but still a little bit bump. And then a little bit of a slight bend or point for the elbow. And it goes a little bit wider because we have wider arms up at the top. And if you want more of like a bum, you just put a slight little bump here on the back. I'm just going to erase the circle, so I don't want to, just going to make it more smooth so you can see how it's looking. A little bit of a bump. And this can come in almost like you're just making the bottom area. But you can also just go above and beyond if you want to make pants and stuff. It's just helpful to be able to draw it like that so that you can envision and make it a lot easier. Okay, and it gets a little bit wider at the top, but unless you're, if you're making a guy, they get a lot wider for that A-frame. For a woman, not as much. So you have to be careful that you don't accidentally, unless you want to, make more of a football player build. I'm just going to make this a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to make that a little bit thicker, a little bit of an indent in, extend it. You can just wrap, put a little bit of a wrap, make a hand wrapping around the edge. Get rid of that. Okay, and just erasing some lines, make it a little bit smoother. So what I've done here is I just placed some hair. You can also place it afterwards, but like a ponytail. It can stick out, a little bit of a flare. You can always make it thicker, but I start off a little bit thinner. You can always make the hair more full and thicker afterwards. Fill that in a little bit. There, you have more of a nice, interesting rock climber doing some stuff, climbing. There we go. So what I'm going to do, once again, is slightly dab over this outline. I'll still see it because I pressed pretty hard. And then you can fill it in afterwards. Just making the head slightly bigger. Making sure there's a bit of a, more of a leg here. All right, so filling in. Probably use this round brush, maybe if you have something like a round brush like this, just for blending. You can do stuff like that. You can try it out. I'm going to dip it a little bit into the water. Try with this one and this one. This is good for just getting a good fill and base coat. So I personally like to start with the warm colors over here because these ones, with painting, these ones can hide these ones a little bit better, in my opinion. Especially red is a difficult color to work with. I'm going to start at the bottom, so it's going to be very, very light. I'm going to take white, so a nice scoop of white, tiny little touch of yellow, tiny little touch, so it's barely noticeable. See how that looks. At the bottom, I'm going to take a touch more yellow. I can go a little bit over top of the outline here because I know that my green teal will cover this easily. Why work harder if you don't have to? You can just paint right over it, not have to worry too much about going around outlines too carefully. little dabs. And then as I go upwards, I'm just going to add more yellow. So a little scoop of yellow, tiniest little touch of red. So it kind of goes more orangey yellow, right in the same spot. Right, little dabs. You can go right up to the closer to the top because red can overlap and help give it a bit more of an orange look. Just light little dabs. If you think you have too much paint, just wipe it off so it doesn't come off too thick. Yeah, I'm just going right over the person. I can still see my outline. Lightly tap towards the bottom so it in a way blends. Just light little dabs, don't press too hard. Okay, and then from here, a little bit more yellow and maybe a little extra red. Another little tap of red. I'm just getting a little bit more orangey. I'm going to start up here, see how it's looking. I'm just deepening up this color, a bit more orangey looking. And definitely more of a deep orange, kind of almost a red orange. So as I go towards the top, so I'd like to start up here. And I can even go to straight red after if I want more of a red, but I like to put orange first because red on top of orange looks more red orange instead of red by itself, kind of pinkish. Nothing wrong with pink. There we go, getting a bit more orangey. And I still, very lightly, with very little paint still on my brush, I haven't really reloaded the brush. Very lightly, just tapping it down, letting it go slightly more orange. And then at this point, if you want to take straight red, just to deepen up and intensify that red orange at the top, do that. Okay, so I just made it more vibrant and intense with the red at the very top. There. Cool. Washing this off. Washing off, dabbed it a bit dry, and then I'm going to wait 30 seconds. It actually takes no time at all for it to dry and work on the other side. So I find this very, I think, beginner friendly. Hopefully not too bad at all if you're painting. So on this side, I'll probably stick with this brush for a bit and then maybe switch to this one. I start with my more of a teal color. So white again, put it on the side. Then I'm going to take the tiniest little dot of yellow and a little pea size of blue. Nice teal. Too much yellow, of course, turns green. If you're avoiding green, not too much yellow whatsoever, but you can always add tiny little dots more, depending on how teal or minty green you want it to be. Very nice. I like this one. This one's nice. I'm just kind of flicking it off to the edge because I don't want to paint too much on the edge there. I'm just kind of flicking it over so that it doesn't brush onto the side. Going up as far as I kind of really want to. I don't mind this kind of showing a little bit more up towards the top. But now I'm going to be very careful towards the edge. I'm not going to just really fill it in and go over the line. I'm going to go pretty close just to start. And then use more of my smaller brush, middle brush, to paint along the edge. I'm going to wash that off. Okay, and then maybe use more of my detailed brush here. Add water. Yeah. Go a little bit darker, just slightly darker. Because I don't want it to be all just the same color. But now I'm going to, with more purpose, just outline. Still not too careful. I can lightly tap towards the sides, get some different shades of teal. So I have some light and some darker tones. Use a small touch of water, pick up the paint, and you can still make it up as you go. Just go cover the line though. Just kind of tapping and filling in the rest of it after I outline it. Small touch of water, more paint. Probably go somewhere around here before I transition to a bit of purple. Just dabbing. This is added a bit more blue to my teal just to change up the color. And also as I get up towards the top, maybe I like going a little bit darker as well. Lightly tap that in, smush it in. Looks like it's sort of blending down. You can use this, dab it a little bit towards the bottom. I like how it looks kind of cloudy, more. It's going to help look more like a galaxy overall too. Maybe towards the purple side, I'll I'll just wash this off and take blue and a little bit of white instead of just all teal. Maybe just add a bit of blue in here. So basically, I'm just dabbing all the extra paint off towards the top, this, and then dabbing it down, which this round brush, since it's a little bit bigger, is probably a good idea just to smush that in. Maybe add little hints of this towards the bottom. And close to the edge over here. But before I do the rest of the outline, I just want to put a little bit of this blue just on top to break up a lot of that teal. Looks like it's switching between colors. Still going with that kind of cloudy look, galaxy vibe. You can even add a bit more white to your blue if you want a bit of lighter blue down here. So wiping off some extra paint, lightly tapping it. Cool. Okay, now I get to, I'm going to switch to a bit of like a bluey purple and just purple. Washing it off. Washed it off, and then switching to more of a purple. So you can do blue, purple, you can just do light purple, dark purple. I'll start with more of a dark purple and then switch to something lighter. So blue and red, about 2 parts red, 1 part blue. Very dark. I'm gonna add a smidge of white to it to get more of a violet look. I'm just going to tap up here, get a lot of this at the top. Filling it in mostly at the top because it gets really dark up there. Just kind of swiping it off the edge before I start dabbing. Now I'm just going to dab. So I'm going to start getting that texture again, dab, because I'm running out of paint on the brush. And I'm going to dab it towards the blue now. See how it's coming off lighter, more airy looking, not as thick. Getting pretty close to the edge before I start outlining. So switching to my detailed brush again. Outlining with my dark purple. That's going to start going a little bit darker. I don't mind putting that even down with the teal. More of an accent. Taking more of that purple, swishing it around that outline after I've outlined it. maybe change it up, go a little bit lighter now. So I'm going to add more white. Just a much, kind of like a lavender color that can be introduced a little bit down into the teal blue section. It's not like you have to add a whole ton, more just kind of little pockets, I guess. You can even add it up into dark purple. So this is my detail brush, but I'm probably going to switch back to this round middle brush just to help smush it in. Just does it a little bit better, I think. That's the next color. Maybe I'll add a bit more red. So it's kind of like a magenta in a way. Or pinky purple. It can also be added in as well. Depends on how much of this color you want to put in. If you really like it, you can add more into your teal to break up some of the teal. Okay. And something just for fun that you can add in, just in case. Dry the brush pretty well. Take a little small amount of white, so not too much on the brush. You can add little pockets of just much lighter dabs. You can even use your finger to kind of blend it into. Almost like a galaxy nebula sort of vibe floating through this galaxy that's becoming. In theory, when you add this on top with very little, it should just mostly make the background a little bit lighter and pockets, just dabbing over top of each other, lots of overlap, and then it adds pockets of lighter color. Pretty cool. And if you want more darkness instead, you can just take blue and a little bit of red or just blue. You can dab in darker pockets. Okay. So what could be done is just, if you want to add more of a deeper outline, darker teal, no white, so that's blue with a touch of yellow. You can kind of sharpen up some of the edges along the sides here. Don't really recommend black, but you could also do it with a Sharpie if you want just a really thin, faint outline with some black, like with a Sharpie. Black is usually okay with the dark areas of the purple at the top. A bit more of a pop. And I'm just going to fill in that little section. Some sort of blue. All right. So while that just sits for a minute, I'm going to go back to the other side and put in a white sun. You can also do it after the tree, so I'll let you decide, but you can also place it and put your trees around it. Maybe I'll put it like right here. I think this is a good spot. Going with the yin and the yang look. Alrighty. And after that, I have some white left over, so I'm just going to touch up on my little dabs of white pockets that I had going on. Back to, actually, let's do the trees. What I'm going to do, detailed brush. You can also use a small, like a thin, flat brush. Something like this. A touch of water. I'm not using black. I'm going to use a really dark green. So it has a bit of black. And take a scoop of blue, yellow, and the tiniest touch of white. Like a deep forest green, very dark. And as you can see, I flattened my brush on each side to make it thin and pointy on the end of the brush. So what I'm going to do is just place some sticks. These are not perfectly straight, but relatively. Yeah, like that. Maybe do one off to the side here. Maybe one right about here, just behind this rock formation. And off to this side. Small touch of water. So one way you can make a tree, and I'll show you with the detailed brush after. You could use more of like the corner of your brush, lightly tap, kind of flick it down, or lightly tap using the full width of it, down or to the side, like that. I like to leave some gaps in this tree, kind of lightly blob it in so that it looks a bit leafy in the middle too. If you use a detail brush, small touch of water, green again. Little flicks instead, a bit more control, and like little flicks coming out. Doesn't have to be symmetrical. In fact, I'm trying not to make it too symmetrical. See, I'm lightly tapping, doing little extra dots of leaves on my little flicks. It looks more leafy on the branch. See, down here, just do some little flicks. And maybe a little bit longer towards the bottom. Kind of like a group of 7 sort of look and vibe. So let's do it again on this side. Like little touches at the top, some little leaves up there, maybe a little gap. Small little flick and like light little taps. Mostly for these trees, again, risk doing a lot of the work, just kind of making it up as I go. And just working around this rock formation as best as I can, lightly tapping up to it. And I'll switch back to a flat brush. You just use the tip, you can get more texture as well. Sometimes doing two little coats can give it more of an opaque, less of a transparent look if you want more fullness and thickness with some of the leaves on the trees. Nice. Okay. So as a little option, just something to give it a bit more interest, you can add a bit of white, more white to a little bit of your green. Much lighter version of that earthy green we just made. And if you want to highlight, lightly dab kind of through the middle, little taps at the tip of the brush, just to give it more layered and highlighted look. Less of a silhouette sort of look. And there we go. I'm going to do one more little touch up on the moon. Sorry, on the sun. Great. So after this, I'm going to start filling in. Before I actually fill this in, I'm going to do some splatter of stars. So it's good to, if you have the time, you can tape around this, or you can use like a paper towel to kind of block things off. So you can rip it up into some pieces and just kind of loosely block off some sections that you don't want to get the splatter. So you don't want stars in your daytime sort of area. This is my paper towel that I've been kind of dabbing my brushes dry. So like, for example, I'll just put some here and put some here. You can use some sort of any medium brush. It doesn't really matter. You can even use a small brush. Water it. So you dip it in the water. Tiny touch of white. I touched blue. Oops. Okay, tiny touch of white and water, and coat it all around so it stays watery, like kind of drippy. Not too much white, right? So it's just all in the brush, very loose and watery. And then I'm going to just kind of spray. You pull it back like you're spraying your toothbrush a little bit. And not getting that side. Catch anything if you need to. Just adjust things. Maybe as I work down here, I'm going to cover a little bit more on this side. Get in this corner. Does a pretty good job. Cool. Sometimes I like to concentrate some more in the lighter white spots. It kind of looks more like you can see a bit more in those areas and galaxy in those spots than other spots. Okay, so bring it up a little bit closer. And I'm going to add more stars with the back handle of my detailed brush. Poke it in the white. You can just get brighter, bigger stars in with the mix. You can even add a constellation in the sky. Especially if you can't get to some spots, just add a couple little dabs there. But compared to the splatter, they're much brighter overall. They look much brighter, not just bigger, they're more white because they have thicker white and they're not as transparent. They dry, they look like they're further away, more. Alrighty. Now for more of a shiny star. You know what? Because I have this section up here, let's put one up around here. I think that's a good spot. Line, X on top. And a little bit of a longer plus sign. Maybe I'll just do another one, just a little plus sign. Maybe, let's see, right here. And then I'll do a little moon. Probably right here. Yeah. So it's kind of a C shape, but on an angle. You can make more of a C. Angled a bit more upwards. And then lightly tap. More in the middle of it, less on the very edges of that C shape. Washing it off. Just going to switch to a slightly so it still works. Go around Just a little bit more. All right. Definitely more of a moon shape. If you need to, it would be totally okay if you needed to go back to a bit of purple, or whatever was there. Off so that you can just very faintly lighten up anything from the middle inwards to make it softer as it fades. Cool. And now I get to focus on filling in the rock line. All right. First I fill it in with black and then I highlight whatever colors. I picked these colors here as like an extension to the rock, but that's just me picking what I wanted to do. You can do different things. You can put different colored clothes and stuff. So I'm going to take black here. Probably use your detail brush or anything that's got a nice, really pointy tip to it. Even a Sharpie just to outline. And be careful with not taking, try not to like put a bunch of water on your brush. It tends to just move around too much in terms of watery. I think I extended this. And touch that up with some background purple for the arm. There we go. Okay, a bit of black again. So I'm just flicking back on the head to start a bit of a hair look. Painting around the head a bit for now. Took a tiny little touch of water, but making sure it's not too watery. So you can also just leave it as a black silhouette. Okay, and then as for the hair, I'm just going to start putting in, like as if there's a ponytails at the back, just a little circle for the ponytail, holding it, elastic band holding it together. And where it comes from. For the hands, the good thing about the hands is you don't really see all the individual fingers. You just kind of see that the claw. So then I just do optional, put some highlights in. So for the highlights, purple and teal, just go back to those same colors. Make sure there's white added for sure. So maybe you like lavender, I'll put a little bit of lavender. If you like the teal, randomly just added it in. So let's see, right here, I'm gonna wipe off some extra paint. That's really light. Maybe on the bottom a little bit. You can pick, like, say, the left side for purple and right side for teal. That could be fun. And you can use it to your advantage where, like, down the middle of the back is more of just of the black or the purple, or muscle kind of going upwards. And I'm going to switch to teal. blue, kind of a yellow for the face. And that puts them in the hair, a couple of streaks folding back. So it's like, you know, the hair is folding back into the back of the head, into the ponytail. Do the opposite side of the purple just for fun. So once you feel like you need to stop, just stop. Trust that instinct. Okay, you like that certain spot, how you did that. Maybe it was on purpose or by accident. No one's going to know. We'll leave it. I'm going to add a little bit more purple in the hair, and then that's it. So overall, I kept it kind of darker, but you can always put it to your liking. I'm just going to maybe add in almost. There you go. Here it is a bit closer. And you can sign the painting. We love seeing results, so you can go to our Facebook page, Artist Palette Durham, on Facebook, and you can go under groups, the acrylic support group. Post your results, show us any renditions, like adjustments or anything that you decide. Thanks for joining, and maybe you'll paint along with me another time. We have lots of tutorials. You can check on our YouTube. You can see on our website, artistpaletedurham.com, to come as well, themes and varieties.